Thank you, John.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be talking about compliance, so your immunizations and your clinical passports, basically. A lot of you have already started on these and gotten your things uploaded to Complio, and I'm sure a lot of you have questions because I've been seeing those come in. So we're going to try and answer a lot of questions now and give you an explanation on what exactly is being required of you in order to send you to clinical. So you all should have a copy of this. It came with email 1, I believe. And it may look a little different because this gets updated every year. But this is a clinical passport. You're not required to fill this out yourself. We are going to be filling this out on your behalf and sending this to the clinical facility with all the information that we take from the documents that you're uploading to Complio. So you do not fill out this paperwork. It's just for your information that this is the information that we're going to be sending to the facilities. What we require from you is called first source documentation. So everything that you upload, you're going to want to go through a checklist to make sure that it basically is originating from the facility that you're receiving care from, or that it's approved by your personal care provider. So things basically have to originate from the healthcare provider or administrator of the immunization, the titer or blood draw or test, etc. Make sure that every document that you upload contains identifying information for yourself. So something, well, it has to have your name, and then it has to have something additional to that, in either your date of birth or contact info or address, something like that. Make sure that it also has the healthcare provider's name and or contact information on there. So something like the name of the clinic and the address or the phone number for your provider. If the document doesn't have that on there already, you can go back to that clinic and ask them to stamp it for you, because oftentimes they have a letterhead stamp that they can add to any document that is missing this information. Make sure that it has the signature or the credentials of the person who administered the immunization, titer, or test, or it can be your personal care provider, so your doctor can also sign off on your documents. Make sure that it has the date of the service that you received, so immunizations, or the date of the reading, or the date of that when they took your blood, for instance, for titers or TB tests. Everything on your document has to be legible, so don't upload blurry images. Don't upload like old handwritten notes that are unreadable. Make sure that you have legitimate documentation that is legible and that it has all of the information that's required on there. And that the image, so if you're scanning it from your phone, for instance, make sure that the image is good and that you can actually see it and read it before you upload. TB skin tests, so these are the things we'll go through, specifically all of the requirements, what's required for each individual category, but make sure that your TB skin tests have everything on there, including the placement date, the read date, the measurement of induration, so the measurement of the skin prick that they put on your arm, and the interpretation of the reading, so negative or positive. Lab results, so blood draws, quantiferons, any sort of blood work should have the lab information on there. Make sure it has the values, and if it has the values, make sure it explains those values, either with reference ranges or interpretation of negative or positive. It's preferable, but it's not required, that vaccines have the lot number on there, the expiration date, and the site that they were administered to. Just going to go through some quick examples of acceptable and not acceptable documentation. We'll see a lot of these from you that go to your local pharmacies, and this is acceptable documentation. we will accept documentation that looks like this. A lot of the times it's attached to your receipt that you get from like Fred Meyer or QFC, anything like that. So make sure to upload this and make sure it has this information on there. So you can see it has the individual's name on there. It has their date of birth that's blacked out right now. It has the date that they received the immunization. It has the clinic's, the pharmacy's name on there and the address on there as well. And it also lists the type of immunization on there. So this basically is what we need from you for something like your flu shot or even COVID or MMR or anything like that. This is acceptable documentation. These are also forms of acceptable documentation. The one on the left will be what a lot of your childhood immunizations may look like if you're from around this time. But the main thing that is required on childhood immunizations is that the doctor's signature is on there. They have a stamp for the facility that they're from. It has the type of immunization. It has the dates that they were given. It has your name and your date of birth on there as well. So that is acceptable. For titers, you may see documentation that looks like this. It has the patient information on there, has the physician's name and their credentials on there, has the clinic on there, and then for the actual titers themselves, so titers are blood work where they draw your blood and then they send it to a lab and it gets tested for immunity. It has the value that you received from the lab on there. And then it has an interpretation of what is negative, what is positive, and what is not, what is equivocal, sorry. It's early in the morning for me. And so this tells us what is positive and what is not, and we are able to determine the information from there. Here's something that you may see that is similar to something that you download from like MyChart or something like that. So this, at first glance, it has most of the information that you need on there. So it has your name on here. It has your date of birth. It has your immunizations and the dates that they've been listed. And then it has the location on there, but it's missing provider information. So it doesn't have the provider's name on there and their credentials. In this case, we would probably send you back to your provider to have them sign off on this form or to write you a letter or something that is approving these immunizations. So if you have something like this, MyChart, for instance, they oftentimes do not have all the information that we need on there. And if that's the case, we will reject your form in Complio, and then we'll send you back to your provider to get that either stamped off with information or have your provider sign it. This is something you can download from the Department of Health. These are acceptable even though it doesn't have the information, all of the information that we need on there. Because this is verified by the Department of Health and it's in the Department of Health's database. So these are acceptable for the program if you can download these. One thing that we may ask you for more information on is flu and COVID, because we need to report some information for those specifically. We need to report the place that you received your flu immunization from, and we also have to report the manufacturer of your COVID vaccinations. So we may ask you, we'll still accept this document, but we may ask you for further information if it comes up. Okay. I'm going to go into some of the various requirements, specifically what is required for all of these immunizations and tests. First, we're going to go through TB. This can be kind of confusing sometimes for students because there are multiple avenues that you can pursue in order to complete this requirement. One of the options is to do a skin test. So for skin tests, one-step skin tests are you go in, you get your skin pricked, and then you wait for 1 to 3 weeks, and then you come back and you get that skin checked. Or sorry, you get your skin pricked and you wait for 2 days, 2 to 3 days, then you go and get that checked. That is a one-step skin test. However, if this is your first time in the program, you are required to receive a two-step skin test, and that requires you to wait 1 to 3 weeks after your first skin test and go back and repeat that process. So that's a total of 4 doctor visits for a skin test if you're doing that. You also have the option to do a blood draw. In Washington State, a lot of them are going to be quantiferons, but there's also TB test, QFT, and T-spot. These are all acceptable forms of tuberculosis testing for the program, and they're all under a branch of something called IGRA. So it's basically a blood draw, and you'll go in and get your blood drawn, and then they will send that to a lab and get that tested. If you are a student with a new positive reading, or you have history of tuberculosis, or you've been immunized to tuberculosis, anything like that, we need record of your positive test. So some piece of paper that says all the information of your previous positive reading. And then you also have to provide a chest x-ray, which says you're not currently showing any symptoms of tuberculosis. And you're going to have to get a form filled out by your doctor that says you're not showing any symptoms for tuberculosis as well. So you need those 2 additional pieces of paperwork in addition to the original positive reading. Same thing if you've been immunized with the BCG vaccine, as I mentioned. After this first fall quarter, next fall quarter comes along, you're going to have to renew your tuberculosis, but you're not required to submit a new test. You're going to fill out a questionnaire basically saying that you're not at risk for tuberculosis. It's a self-assessment that you do, and you just have to fill that out on Complio. So you don't have to repeat this testing process unless you have had exposure or you're at risk for tuberculosis next year. I already explained what a 2-step is. If you're confused about that, let me know. But it's basically 4 doctor visits that you have to do if you do the skin test now. We recommend you do the blood draw because it's a lot more simple, but what you want to do kind of depends on your provider and your insurance situation as well. So just keep in mind that there are options, but the simplest way to go is the blood draw. MMR, so measles, mumps, rubella, and varicella or chickenpox have the same requirement for all 4 diseases. You either have to provide 2 immunizations, so 2 immunizations in your lifetime, or you can get a blood draw, a titer, and the titer itself has to show positive immunity to all 4 diseases. We can't accept, for instance, that you've had chickenpox as a kid, so you're probably immune. We have to have the actual blood work showing that you're immune to the disease. And if you, for instance, get a titer done for MMR and you're immune to 2 of the diseases, but you're still missing 1, you still have to show either 2 immunizations total, or you have to get a new titer after getting a booster showing that you're immune to all 3 diseases. Hep B titers can be kind of confusing. Ultimately, what we require from you is a positive titer. So you eventually have to get the blood draw for Hep B. If you've already had your first series vaccination for hepatitis B, you can go ahead and proceed and get a titer. If that titer is negative, then you have to initiate a new series of immunizations and then re-titer at the end of that. There are 2 different kinds of series immunizations for hepatitis B. You can either do a 3-shot series or a 2-shot series. And both of those are acceptable for the program. Definitely consult with your provider on your hepatitis B assessment and see what they recommend for you if you do have a history of already receiving immunizations. If after you've completed 2 total series of immunizations and you're still showing negative for a titer, that's okay. We will send you back to your provider and ask them to write a letter for you that basically says you're a non-responder to the immunization and you're not going to show positive from receiving more immunizations, basically. Another note for hepatitis B, if you do the 3-shot series, typically it takes longer than 6 months to complete, because for 3 immunizations for hepatitis B, you get your first one, and then you wait a month, and then you get your second one, and then you have to wait for 5 months and get your third one. After that, you wait another month, and then you get a titer. So it takes more than 6 months to complete. So it's okay. It's okay if you are in progress of your hepatitis B. You don't have to complete that now. You just have to be on time with each immunization. Some quick questions came up that I can answer regarding these last couple slides. Had the BCG vaccine as a kid. So if you had the vaccination for TB, you just have to show your positive history or some sort of document from your provider saying you've been immunized to tuberculosis. And then you can then show an X-ray exam that you've gotten that shows you are negative for that in your lungs, and then get the symptoms check filled out. For MMR and varicella, there's no time limit on when you took these immunizations. As long as you have history of 2 immunizations, you can upload those. Okay. I'm going to keep going here. Additional vaccinations that are required are Tdap. You have to have a Tdap immunization. And typically these are good for 10 years. If you've had a previous Tdap immunization and then you decided to get a TD booster, that's fine. TD boosters are accepted as well. Flu immunizations are required annually. So you'll have to get the current flu immunization, which is typically available towards the end of August, early September timeframe, which is why that has a separate date requirement for us. We want you to get that late August, early September time. So it won't be available in any clinics or facilities right now, but if you check towards the end of August, you should be able to find it at your local pharmacies. Usually they're the first ones to start offering it. COVID-19 immunization is required by the program currently. We require the most up-to-date immunization. Typically, the latest booster will be required. And right now, we're requiring you to update that by the 5th of September, I believe, is the due date for that. So along with your flu immunization, make sure you get that updated towards the end of August. Please ensure that whatever documentation you submit to us, that it has the manufacturer listed on your document. Nowadays, it'll probably be called Spikevax or Comirnaty, but Moderna or Pfizer listed on there is fine as well. Education modules, those are going to be going through the CPNW website. A lot of you have done your accounts for those already. I've been going through approving those recently. So once you get your account set up, you can log into CPNW and begin doing those modules. I think there's 9 of them, but make sure you get those completed. Those have to be updated every year. So before next fall, you're going to have to redo those modules. Okay, the Complio accounts that you guys have been making is what we use to review all of the documentation that we've been talking about. And you have already received instructions on how to upload, how to create your accounts, and you created your yearly subscription along with your background checks in there. The subscription expires yearly, so before next fall, you're going to have to update that subscription before next fall quarter begins in order to be able to continue using the service. Before you upload documents, again, we really want to stress that you make sure that they are legible, because it's important to us that we can be able to read the documents and make sure that if we are audited by clinical facilities that we're sending you to, that they can also read the documents. So make sure that it has everything on there that's being required on you and that they are first source documents approved by your providers. Keep copies of your documents, because it's not guaranteed that we'll keep everything on here. If it's not required by the program, we may delete it. But just be aware that we're not going to keep everything on here for you. So just make sure that you're keeping copies for yourself as well. Again, legibility is king. Make sure that you are uploading. We prefer PDF files, but I think JPEG files are fine as well. Make sure that they're uploaded and that they are legible. We in the program have the final say on documents. So a lot of you have been getting messages from Complio saying that a document you uploaded is not currently accepted, or it was rejected by Complio review. Complio goes through first and they do an initial review, but the program has the final say on it. So don't panic that you're receiving these emails from Complio right now. You're going to get emails from us in the program when we start onboarding you to clinicals if you need to update anything on there. So you'll get emails directly from one of us in the program with explanation on what you need to update. And then you'll go through and update that, and then we will go through and approve them. A lot of the things you uploaded as well may already be okay, but we need to go through and review those as well. So it takes time for each of us to review everything for you. As you can see, you have a lot of classmates in here today. There's also additional cohorts that are in progress right now, and we have to review documents for every single student in the program. So it takes time to do these things. So please be patient with us and look out for emails from us. Make sure you're active on your emails, because that will be the primary means of contact for you while you're in the program. And you're going to be getting a lot of emails from us, particularly towards the end of the quarter and at the beginning of the quarter, because that's when we're going to be onboarding you to your clinicals. There are apps on your phone that you can use as a scanner, and it'll convert the image to a PDF when you scan it with your phone. That's totally fine to do, but just make sure that the image you're uploading to your for your immunizations are legible and professional looking. Make sure that you can see, the full document, all 4 corners of the document, that all the information is legible and that you don't have anything obscuring the document, like on the right here, with how, like, your lunchbox and your coffee, or, in your car, on your lap. Don't take images like that. Set it down on a table or something, and then just take a good image of that shows the entire document. So it's really important that you have your clinical passports up to date. So make sure you have all your immunizations uploaded by the date that we've set as the deadline. I believe the first date is 8/15 for most of your immunizations, and your modules as well. Make sure you get those uploaded before the 15th. If you have issues doing that, reach out to us. Make sure you're reaching out and keeping in contact with the program if there's any kind of issues you're having, if you're unable to get an appointment, things like that. As long as you're communicating dates to us, we'll be able to work around those dates. And as long as you are communicating with the program, we can try and work with you on anything that you communicate with us. So make sure that you are active on emails. That is the biggest thing we would like to stress to you while you're in the program, so that we can keep you running smoothly through your onboarding for clinicals and for attending the program. So one thing also to point out is make sure that anything that's expiring, so things that have annual requirements like tuberculosis testing or like your Tdap, for instance, make sure those are valid for the entire quarter of the program that you're attending. So for instance, for fall quarter, nothing can expire before December. Don't know what the end of the quarter is. I believe it would be the 12th or the 19th of December would be the last date of the quarter. So just make sure that everything is valid until the end of December, basically. Typically, you'll get updates. We'll require updates to your passports about 4 to 6 weeks, so a month to 2 months before the quarter begins. We'll set due dates for those then. So we recommend that you are proactive about this. And if you see something expiring, like your BLS, for instance, you schedule yourself to update that before it expires. So just so that you're less stressed out when you get a message from us and you have finals coming up or you have a big assignment due and you also have to go to this BLS class on top of that. So we recommend you try and be as proactive as you can about this, so that you don't have to worry about it when something crazy happens. Would like to show you some quick examples in Complio real quick. Okay. Can everyone see Complio on the screen right now? Can I get thumbs up or... Okay, thank you. So this is what it basically looks like for everyone when you log in. A couple things I want to point out. When you click on requirements, for instance, tuberculosis, they'll have explanations of everything that you could potentially upload in there. And you can select what category you want to upload while you're in that specific requirement. Make sure you're selecting the right requirement for that. Sometimes we get people that, for instance, will select like symptoms check and then upload their titer or something. Or they'll upload something from a completely different immunization on there. Just make sure that you are confirming that you're uploading to the right category, because you can see the explanations here. And if you also need further explanations, you can click on this document here. Let's allow that. And it will explain everything that's in that category. There's also further explanation under required documents here on the right-hand side. If you click on this, You can click on any category and download information on all of those. Anything else that's tricky in here? Oh, when you go on to next quarter for your tuberculosis update, there's a self-assessment form here that you can do. There's a self-screening and there's also exposure questions. You're required to update the exposure questions in your second quarter. And it'll ask you these 2 questions, and then you can just put in today's date in there as well. This is all you have to update in your second quarter. If at any point you're unsure of where you have to upload documents, say for instance you have something that may not fit into a specific category, or you're unable to edit a category for whatever reason, you can always upload a document here on the top right, and that'll upload the document as an unassigned document that we can still see, and we can then go in as admins and reassign it to where it needs to go. So if you're unsure about that, click on here and you can just upload a document like this. Just click on browse and select your document. One thing we would really request from all students is that you label your documents, either on the file name or under, there's a description area that you can put descriptions in as well. It really helps us out if you label your documents as you go when you upload them. If you need any additional information, you can reach out to Complio directly, our American Data Bank. They have help. They have a help desk at American Data Bank that you can look to. And they also have these quick tutorials about what to do in Complio and the kind of service that they provide as well. If you have content questions about Complio, you can reach out to us. I'm getting ahead of myself. But I'll put up those contact infos at the end of the presentation. Annual requirements for the program. You will have to update your TB with the questionnaire that I just showed you in Complio. You will have to upload your flu shot next fall before next fall quarter begins. Again, usually it gets released at the end of August or early September. Within that time frame, you're going to have to get a flu shot. CPNW modules, so the education modules that we're having you do now, you're going to have to update them again around the same time next year. Your background check, you do not have to update the criminal background check, the full national and Washington State Patrol background check. You only have to update the Washington State Patrol check along with your criminal disclosure form. So that has to be updated yearly. I'll show you really quick where you can order that. In Complio, you're going to be going to this place order on the top right-hand side. And you click on place new order. Then you're going to select nursing, load packages, and then you're going to want to select only the annual Washington State Patrol background check. So this is what you'll have to update next year in your fall quarter. You will have to update your personal health insurance if that changes. Otherwise, you can keep the same card and update the date. Your AHA BLS, so your American Heart Association Basic Life Support for healthcare providers, needs to be up to date. It can't expire during the quarter that you're currently in. And it has to be specifically the AHA BLS card. We can't accept any other card than this. If you have another type of CPR card, even if it's something that says it was created with the AHA guidelines, we unfortunately still cannot accept that because we are part of a consortium of Basically, what that means is a bunch of hospitals and schools got together and they decided on the rules for what's being required for students to be sent to their facilities. And they specifically require the AHA BLS card. So make sure you have this and that is up to date. It's not expiring before December. And if it is expiring, like in December or November, make sure you're updating that now. Okay. That brings us to the end of the presentation. See, Prablin has been answering a lot of questions in chat. If we do have questions now, feel free to ask them. Okay, Hinset, you have a question?
Hi, I have two questions.
Yep.
So I have a robust reaction to the TB test. I had the BCG vaccine in a different country. I don't
Yep.
have records of it. Am I able to just do the quantiferon chest x-ray and sign off from a doctor, or must I do the skin test?